Thank you, Mike Lee, for the sit-in gavel right there. That thing's a piece of wood made out of something. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's right at 6:30. Thank everybody for coming out. Good to see everybody in the audience tonight. If we would, we'll go ahead and proceed to the roll call, please.
Chuck Angier.
Here.
Tim Duffer.
Here.
Ryan Fox.
Here.
Ryan Garrett. Bobby Lovelace.
Here.
Ben Meeks.
Here.
Ron Scares.
Here.
Keith Scruggs.
Here.
Bert Sellers.
Here. All right, we'll get everyone to take a moment or two on the commission, look over the agenda, see if there's any additions or revisions that need to be made at this time. No additions or revisions are noted. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, very good. All right, next is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Can you see with that thing on?
As soon as everyone's had a moment to look over that, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Got a
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Presentations. Having none, we keep moving. Hearing of the citizens.
Yes, sir, we have two. First one is Bob Warren, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
And Claire, these are
It's yes, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay,
Corner Bob.
okay. Welcome, Mr. Warren. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'm here. I'm Bob Warren from the Board of Supervisors, Chatham Blair representative, and I'm just here tonight to, one, thank all the committee members for their service and what they do. We really appreciate your work and your efforts. Also, I'm here to support the request tonight from Blair's Volunteer Fire and Rescue tonight as they request to be able to use a funding mechanism of municipal bond funds that are allocated to the county. I would certainly hope you all would consider endorsing that and sending it on to the Board of Supervisors. Also would, though, challenge, as I've talked to the chief already about this, that they do a better job at their research and checking this vehicle out than the Fire Association did the last time we purchased one of these vehicles that was going to be Rescue One. That ended up being a disaster, and I'm sure the chief will share to you tonight some extra efforts they went to ensure that they were getting the proper things. So I do think that's real important, and I would ask too that the commission, as we go forward, these special use vehicles like the ladder truck we're going to be talking about really probably should be more in the purview of county putting more funds into it and purchasing it, honestly, because it's going to be beneficial to larger areas than just the Blair's community. So probably county needs to have a little more skin in the game, and maybe you all can look at how we could strategically place the equipment that we need in certain spots that would be most beneficial to all the citizens. Because in reality, it's all about the safety and protection of our citizens, and I've said that numerous times before with you all. So I would just respectfully ask that you would give careful consideration to that tonight as they bring it up. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next, we have Brother Mike Neal.
Come on down, Chief. Chief, let me just say it's good to see you vertical, my man.
Thank you. At least I'm walking straight, so.
There you go.
Anyway,
You have the floor, sir.
Bob cut his short so I could get some extra time, so thank you, Bob. I'm gonna say this before I start saying what I was gonna say. I am tickled to death, and I think it's a great addition to this commission I look right here and see this man here, Kermit Amos, better known as Peanut, 35-year Danville fireman. He worked with my brother Barry for years and years, Dean and Duffer, and some of y'all guys. This guy right here, for whom you don't know, is out of the Callens area, and he's one of the roots of that fire department. And I'm not patting my back, if you look at Mike Neal here, Jesse Yates in Gretna, Landon Worsham in Chatham, Dean in Blairs, years and years ago, this man right here was fighting and pulling for everything he could do in that community. And actually, when the commission started, I had a couple people ask me, what do you think about this district and this district? And that was my pick. I told them, this guy, I'm not knocking the one you had, but this guy is excellent. And I'm glad to see him. And you could say, we're looking at everybody tonight, David, we got, we can say we got a race color, in with us and blah, blah, blah. But I don't look at a black and white. That dude's a shining star, so I'm glad he's here, okay?
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, glad Peanut's here. It's great. Yeah, it's going to be a great addition. Just sort of in correlation to what Bob said, we got 3 ladder trucks in the county, Cool Branch, Chatham, Ringo. We purchased ours about 7 years ago, come off assembly line in New Orleans, and right now we probably got $650,000 to $700,000 in that truck. It's run some mutual aid at Blairs. We've been to Mount Herman, and Dean will tell you it stopped in North Point fire. What, Dean? 6 months ago? 9 months ago, that building was lit up, going from boom to boom to boom, set it up, and got it knocked down enough where they could get it with hand lines. So they are specialty trucks. And I know David, when he first come here, looking around, said, hey, we got too many trucks, he studied us. And in essence, in some places you do. And I've tried to work with him and Slim now. We've actually got rid of 2 trucks at Ringo. Sold both of them to Ben Davenport, good Ben at First Piedmont. And Ben's bought 2 of our trucks that we didn't replace. My last ambulance I bought, county bought it, and it's been running back up for Medic 3 mostly. And I sold a truck to the state of New York when I bought this last pumper. I sold that other pumper to them. So we're trying to cut down and do what we need to do also. But remember, we're talking about a specialty truck. If it's 140, 50 trucks in the county, ain't but 3 ladders. And they're going to get more expensive and higher down the road. You got more industry coming in. We got 3 industrial parks that we cover, Ringo East, West, and Cane Creek. I got Morgan Olson, Intertape, Brockway, Axoy, Hickson, Dan, Kim, all them down there that put almost $2 million in tax base back in the county the year we bought this truck. And I know the tax base is going up, so you got to protect them. You burn one of these things to the ground, they probably going to relocate on you, instead of coming back. So long story short, we brought this up overnight at the association. I think we had 21 representatives of departments, and we voted 21-0 from the fire association to bring to y'all good people here at the commission, if y'all would support. Blairs is looking at buying the truck, equipping the truck, not asking the county for a penny, but at the end of the day for some help, in doing the insuring on it. So from the association to y'all, we ask that you approve that. So anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
All right, this time we'll have the Fire Rescue Association report. Chief Fowler.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I have to report is we worked with the association and the Public Safety Director, Chris Limp, at the last meeting to set some standards for fire apparatus under the CIP, and I think that's going to be brought up a little later in the meeting. And also, we disseminated some information to look at a driving policy as a county-wide policy to adopt. We handed that out to allow them to have some time over the next month to review it and bring it back to the next meeting to try to formulate a plan that we adopt.
Thank you, Chief. This time we'll have the county staff report.
Before we do that, if we could back up.
Yes,
to,
sir.
What Chief Fowler's talking about. In your packet, you'll see where they did the standards, minimum standards for apparatus. And if y'all could review that for a minute, maybe, if you accept that, if that's good with you guys, and to accept it, because, you know, that's one of the things the Board of Supervisors had wanted us to do.
Do I need to cover that?
I'm sorry.
Do I need
If you want to, you can. It's pretty straightforward, but you might have questions and Dean could answer.
That's the first page of your report here, is that right, the standards?
There's one there on, it's labeled Fire and Rescue Association report, and you'll see some
Yes,
summary down standards there.
yes.
I apologize for
No,
not
that's
covering.
quite all right, sir.
Basically, what we did is we looked at three pieces of apparatus, being a fire engine or a pumper, a tanker, better known as a tender, and brush trucks. What we established is a minimum of 1,250 gallon per minute pump, a minimum of 1,000 gallons of water carried on board, a minimum of a 3-person cab, meet current National Fire Protection Association standards for storage and hose capacity, and a 4,000 watt light tower. That's for a fire engine or a pumper. The next truck that we identified was a tanker or a tender, minimum of 1,000 GPM pump, minimum of 2,000 gallon tank, quick water discharge, and it shall meet NFPA standards for water delivery. Then we looked at a brush truck, and those standards were set at a minimum of a 1-ton chassis, minimum of a 250 gallon per minute pump, and a minimum of a 250 gallon tank. Any questions?
Mr. Fowler, just for clarification, I think I'm right. NFPA has no standards for brush trucks, correct?
Say that one more time.
NFPA,
It'll just be for the pump and the
because you
seat
get
belt
into the
and-
grass
Yes,
trucks and,
yes.
yeah, okay.
If you guys could endorse that, would be great. If you accept it, that'd be, so we can take it back to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, so at this point, yeah, I'll entertain a motion to endorse or accept the proposal for the minimum requirements of these apparatus.
So moved.
You got a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you, Chief. County staff, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I hope logistically this will take us a little getting used to, but we'll work through some of it. And I've got some, after I came in today, I realized a couple things I'll do on my side to make this a little easier for us. Just a few things. Recently, what was left of the 640 Board of Directors and the County Board of Supervisors reached an agreement with 640 on the remaining assets and real estate to the county. In return, the county worked an agreement with them where we'd be staffing a quick response vehicle there 13 hours a day for the next 30 months, 7 days a week. And we are entertaining, if there were any volunteers left out there that would like to be participating in that, we're going to entertain having them, allow them to do that as well. We're working through that now. We have no update on the Cool Branch Franklin County situation to report today. The budget, had to finish our budget request, and one of the things I realized as we were doing this, part of what you're charged with is to help with that budget, but the time frame that we do our budgeting, I'm going to have to work with finance through some logistical issues there because of how they want the time frame we have. I think if they want it by the end of December and they give it to me the first week of December, I'm going to start going back and probably us starting in November as a group working on that, or maybe having an ad hoc budget committee. I'm going to have to work with finance on how to do that better. So, just a couple of I just want to bring you some of the highlights and the big things. I did ask for one more field position staff supervisor. Casey supervises 20 people, which is just way too many to be supervising. So I've asked for one more of those. We've asked for a 2.5% increase in our volunteer funding as well. I asked for them to give me another $5,000 in volunteer recruitment and retention to try some new programs next year. And then majority of any other increases in there are really centered around call volume. And, our EMS call volume is just, we're going to run probably close to 1,000 calls more this year than we did last year before in physical year. So it's centered around those things where we give the volunteers the pay per call money, or we pay the outside agencies to respond into the county. A lot of things that are associated with those kind of costs that I don't have a lot of control over. So those were the major increases that we asked for. Lastly, we continue to try to get everyone that wants it as far as public safety out, get them vaccinated. We're working with the health department. Michael Lee, our deputy director, has been doing that. We've identified a secondary source to help us there as well. So we have some different places we can send people now instead of having to bring them all the way up to the north end of the county. But, we encourage our first responders to please take that shot. I think it's imperative we do that. On a side note, since I did this, I had a request from one of the captains about hepatitis vaccinations, which I haven't had one of those since I've been here. So I'm researching that with the health department. I have identified some funds where I could help with that as well. And we're going to, as soon as I can figure out with the health department what we can do and what they can do, to be fair, because most of their resources are on COVID right now. But we'll put that back out as soon as I identify a source for that. And if we've got volunteers that need that, we'll help get that for them as well. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, sir. First item on the agenda under new business is the introduction of the new Fire Rescue Commission member. Before I welcome, I'll get him to tell a little bit about himself, a little bit about his background and everything. So a lot of us have known him for a long time, but for those that hadn't, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. First off, good evening, good afternoon. Like I said, my name is Kermit King. I've been in Pittsylvania County all my life, basically. I've been a member of Callan's Fire and Rescue for 30-plus years. I'm a retired firefighter from the city of Danville, where I held the rank of lieutenant when I did retire. I have a degree from DCC in fire science. I've just been around a long time. Like I said, I live out on Strawberry Road in the Callan's Chatham community, where I live with my wife. I have 2 kids. Both of those are in Georgia, so I've kicked them out already. So, but I'm hoping I can help him. I feel honored to serve with these guys that's already on the commission.
On behalf of the commission, we welcome you. Thank you. It's good to see you up here with us. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Slimp
Thank
for the
you.
election of the officers.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to the Honorable Brian Fox for being the chairman this year. I really do appreciate it. It's been great working with him. So I always, every time I call him, I say, I'm looking for the Honorable Brian Fox. Now he's the chairman. So, but we do need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman for 2021. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations for the chairman, if I hear a nomination for one.
I'll nominate Brian Fox for chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the floor. We'll take a vote. All in favor of Brian Fox as being our chairman? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, I'll now open the floor and entertain motions for the vice chairman. Do I hear any motions or nominees for vice chairman?
I nominate Keith Scruggs.
I'll second.
I have a nomination and a second. Do I have any other nominations for vice chairman? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the floor for that. All in favor of Keith Scruggs being our vice chairman, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, congratulations, gentlemen. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, funding ad hoc committee report.
That also goes to me. We have met, myself, Mr. Sellers, Mr. Lovelace, and Mr. Angier. We've met 2 times now. We've had a lot of emails back and forth. We've struggling with some things to really make sure we're doing what's right. We're going to need just a little more time. We suspect by the next meeting we'll have everything the way we want it. We're fine-tuning it. We're looking at just some various models of how to fund. We've really put a lot of effort into this because it is an important issue. And we don't want to underfund somebody that needs it. But on the other side of that coin, we don't want to overfund people as well. So we've had some emails again today, and we'll probably meet one more time and hopefully have some recommendations for you by February. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board of Supervisor Communication, Mr. Scarce.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at the Board of Supervisors December and January business meetings, the board decided the following issues, items related to the county's volunteer fire and EMS agencies. Number one was request the Fire and Rescue Commission to adopt a formal CIP and apparatus funding rotation. 2, the board approved and sent the final radio agreement to Danville Life Saving Crew for the regional radio system upgrade and with the use of CARES funding. The board reappointed Tim Duffer as a firefighter representative for the Southeast Quadrant, reappointed Chuck Angier as a citizen representative for the Northwest Quadrant, and appointed Kermit King as the firefighter representative for the Northwest Quadrant. The board finally also gave approval to the county staff to continue with the HURT EMS station project. That is it, sir.
Thank you, sir. CIP apparatus rotation and apparatus placement discussion is the next item on the agenda. Mr. Slim.
Thank you. As you heard Mr. Scarce mention there, the Board of Supervisors has requested that we put in place a formal rotation, apparatus rotation, and capital improvement plan. Along those lines, with some of the things that have come up during that time, we really need to look at apparatus placement as well with that. And so there's a lot of things that go into that. I mean, it's not just, and I've been pulling some statistics. It's going to take me a few more days to finish pulling what I want to pull, but I'm looking at call volumes. You know, we have some equipment that don't run 4 calls a year, to tell you the truth. We have some equipment that's 30, 35 plus years old. You know, is it still really safe to be out here operating in some cases? So I think we really need to dig down into a lot of things when we look at apparatus. And I think this will be a good thing going forward. It'll give the board a better idea, too, of what the future holds and where we're going to need their help with a lot of these items. Fire trucks are going up, 7% a year, roughly? I mean, you know, I remember the first ambulance I rode on, we paid $42,000 for it. Now you pay $242,000 if you're lucky. So that tells you anything, you know, ambulance-wise. So, and I'm sure some of you guys rode on fire trucks you paid $50,000 for. Now, you know, it's over $500,000. So those are, you know, we really need to sit down and just look at this as a whole. What I think could use some help with, I'd really like to see you put an ad hoc committee together, and I don't mind to help with that. And Michael Lee will help with that as well. He doesn't know he's being volunteered for that, but he is. But and we'll come back and go through these statistics. There may be things that they would want to look at I hadn't thought about we need to look at too. Get, you know, a couple sets of eyes on that. But I'd really like for you to consider appointing an ad hoc committee of our folks on the commission, and we dig into this a little bit.
All right, hearing the request from county staff for the Fire Rescue Commission to get an ad hoc committee. Mr. King, are you up for your first assignment, sir?
Okay.
Would you like to serve on the ad hoc committee?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see. Mr. Duffer, would you be willing to take on that? How about Mr. Meeks?
That'd be fine, yes, sir.
Okay, they have a lot, yes, sir, they have a lot of experience with apparatus and design and build and working with them a lot, so. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Aerial truck discussion. Chief Fowler, you have the floor, sir. Either one or both.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to talk a little bit about the operation at Blair's and explain where we're at with this project. Right now, we're right at 50 members. We've worked hard to provide services to the community and backup areas that we serve to the absolutely best of our ability. We've provided fire and EMS as well as technical rescue services with trained personnel and equipment. We respond to the county's hazmat trailer when needed anywhere in the county, and we have several members trained to the level of technician and specialist from other organizations that they work for that are able to give that expertise. We've tried to go one step further and become more proactive. We're providing public education events to schools, daycares, senior citizens groups, churches, and industries, doing fire extinguisher classes and that type of stuff with the industries, working with industries to do pre-plans to better prepare them in the event of an emergency, as well as us. We've been working hard and looking at our ISO rating for some time and talking with the stakeholders, industry and commercial. And we've put some real effort into trying to reduce the ISO rating that we've had. Some of the things we've done is we've focused on our training, and some of the guys in some of the departments understand to be more specific to the categories that ISO is looking for and to be more reactive there. We've changed the way we document our training. We've changed to where we do both day and night training, which seems to be a big kick for ISO. We've added officer training. We've added multi-company trainings. We brought in agencies from our surrounding area to train with them. We've added additional equipment to our apparatus. We've changed the way we testing and keeping hose records. For a long time, we were testing that hose and documenting that we tested it, but it wasn't a chain of when it was purchased, how many times it's been tested, when it's replaced, and I know I have to work really hard to call him Kermit, not Peanut, but I know Peanut did this for Danville Fire Department for a long time, and we basically adopted some of those procedures. We're starting to test our ground ladders, which we have never done, and we've started to do that. And we're working extremely hard to get the numbers of people who respond to incidents up and get more people out so that it affects our overall average and that affects our ISO. I say that to as a prelude to the request that I'm bringing before you tonight. I want to make sure that each one of you understand that we did not wake up this morning and decide we wanted to buy a ladder truck. We've been looking at this now for 2.5 years. We've been looking at it through the ISO ratings. One of the ISO ratings is you'll get 4 additional, as the ISO folks refer to it as global points, I think. Mike Lee can tell, I think in the global points they look at. But anyway, it's 4 points for a 100-foot or better ladder truck. And we've been looking for a good while. We've had a couple of the apparatus dealers looking for trucks. We found one that is a truck that came from a Virginia department. The department replaces their apparatus every 8 years. They lease trucks, and at the end of 8 years, they have to replace them. This truck was taken out of service in October of this past year. It's a 2012 Pierce 100-foot ladder truck. It's got a 1,000 GPM pump on it, a 1,000-gallon waterway, generator, cord reels, and the compartmentation to carry the equipment. We didn't just go inspect this truck. We actually hired 2 ASE certified heavy truck mechanics. We carried them with us to the broker that has this truck. They carried computers, tools, equipment, and they started at the front bumper and went all the way back on this truck. They worked on it 10 hours. They hooked a computer to it, and they read every piece of data from that truck from the day it came off of the assembly line till the day we were looking at it down there. They can tell how many gallons of fuel's been put through this truck. They can tell anytime it was at maximum operating temperature. They can tell every time it was at maximum RPM, the maximum speed that it's been traveled. Everything is in a database on that truck. They took EGR coolers apart and checked them. They put scopes inside the valve covers. They looked inside of the exhaust. They drew oil samples from the truck, sent them to a lab, and I have a copy of those. Everything is within specs. I even took that and sent it back to Cummins and asked Cummins to take a look at it, and they verified the findings of the oil sample, and they're good with it. We operated the aerial. We inspected all of the cables, pulleys, pins, the outriggers on it. Everything has been checked. They checked hydraulic pressures on pumps. They checked pressures on transmissions. They mic'd the brakes on it. They measured the tread depth on the tires, and I've got that report from them. But one thing we also did is we've contacted the battalion chief that was the fleet supervisor for this department, and it's a large department. In talking with him, we were able to ascertain the maintenance records on that truck from the day it was delivered. We know how many times it was serviced. We know what issues were fixed and taken care of, when they were taken care of, the mileage, and so forth. That being said, we've got a need for it. We've got industry, we've got schools, we've got shopping center, we've got commercial development, pipelines, a propane distribution facility. We've got an apartment complex that is 3-story, 4-story on the rear, and it's 168 apartments in that complex. We've had multiple fires in it, room and contents, grease fires and this type of stuff, but we've also had 3 major fires that required aerial apparatus response. One that Chief Neal referred to, that was one that come really close to consuming 24 apartments. Relocated folks out of 24 apartments for several days, but that being said, the need is there. We've worked with the local industries and the commercial development in our area, talking with them. We've got buy-in from them and got support. We're not asking for funding from the county. We're not asking for any money, and I'm gonna try to make sure I do this due diligent in what I'm asking for. What we would like to request is a resolution backing the loan of $430,000 for this truck to purchase it, and we're gonna pay the entire cost of the truck, but by backing it with the bond money that the county has, it will reduce the overall cost at the end of the project by $17,323 is what the finance people are telling me. And that's what we would like to request. I currently have 11 people in my department that work for career departments that are experienced with ladder trucks, operate and drive these trucks, and have already talked with a professional training group that will come in and do a training class to get other people up to speed. And it won't be something that we're going to put every person in our department on to drive, but select people that are trainable and knowledgeable enough, as well as experienced and responsible enough to be able to drive and operate it, will be the ones that we'll put through that class.
Chief, in your request, would you like to also stipulate anything about insuring the truck?
Well, we'd like to put it on the county insurance.
Mr. Chairman, before we do any votes, I just want to let you know I'm going to have to abstain from any discussion or votes on this matter due to conflict of interest.
Yes, sir. Noted. Thank you. So I think at this time, we would need a motion to adopt the resolution. Is that correct?
For discussion or whatever you want me to do.
Because we have to have a motion before we can have discussion, right? A motion, a second, then discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that correct? All right, at this time, to consider a resolution to back a $430,000 loan, is that correct? $430,000 loan, and to insure the ladder truck when it gets here, is what they're asking on the resolutions. I will entertain a motion to draft that and send it to the Board of Supervisors.
I'll make that motion, Mr.
I have a
Chairman.
motion.
I'll second that.
I have a second. All right. All in favor say aye.
Oh, you're gonna have discussions?
Oh, I'm sorry, wait, you're right, good call, thank you. Let's talk about it, let's have some discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir, go right ahead, Mr. Andrews.
Just because I don't know anything more about it, can somebody explain to me tapping into county municipal bonds, what that exactly means?
Yes, sir, Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Angier. We are granted authority of about $10 million annually to issue tax-exempt bond financing. We not irregularly get requests from fire departments and other agencies asking for the county to back that loan with its moral obligation. It does provide a better rate of finance for these departments and other agencies that seek to use that authority we've been granted. We don't have use of that $10 million of obligation this year, and it would not be any hindrance to us to pass that along to Blair's.
Thank you, sir.
And just to add to Mr. Smithman, I mean, he pretty much hit it on the head, but there's several organizations within the last 2 years, 3 years, including mine, that has tapped into those bonds, and the county has backed us. So, and I just want to say, I've talked to Mr. Fowler, Chief Fowler, a whole lot about this ladder truck. They've did their due diligence better than, as Mr. Warren said, we have in the past on some trucks. And they have put it through the test to make sure that it's going to not only service Blair's, but Pittsylvania County as a whole for a long time. I also want to add that the ISO supports it, that his need been forward in that area. And he also has the manpower down there. Me and him had a long discussion the other night, as well as me and Mr. Slimp, about these trucks being placed. You know, we got to get the correct training, because the job we do is dangerous any day of the week. And then that's just another whole component we're adding in there with that ladder, that aerial truck, that you can get in a bad situation real fast. These career firemen and other people that's had experience with it, they know, you know, proper driving and placement and using that truck is paramount to not getting anybody hurt or killed. And I think Dean will do a good job down in his organization getting training and also working with surrounding agencies to make sure that the truck is going to be safely used. And he has buy-in from, I think that's something we need to use as much as possible as well, from industries within the county. He's went and proved to these organizations and these companies, not organizations, but these companies, that the benefit to them and the protection it's going to provide. I hope I can tap into some of mine in Grutland. That's my plan going forward. So I fully support his Blair's attempting to purchase this truck. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fowler, if you have been needing this truck for 2.5 years, have you made any attempts to secure any money from the county to help pay for it? Any reason for not asking the county? I know Mike Neal, we got money for the fire ladder truck we have in Ringo. The county helped with that, am I correct? Quite a bit of the funding came from the county for that fire truck. Why, if there's a need, why wouldn't you request?
At the end of the day, I've got a truck in the building that the county provided $140,000 for. I guess it's 2 years, the 2 budgets ago that they gave, and I just don't feel like it's right to come back and ask for funding again right now.
Who made that decision? You've got a lot of people in your community that
We discussed it with my board of directors as well as with my membership.
I mean, if all the people that you have in your community that support you, it seems to me like to take all of their money and buy one fire truck to help the county, that the county needs to be involved in that. And maybe I'm out of line saying that. I know they've done the due diligence and they're willing to step up to the plate, and I admire them for it, and I know there's a need based on what you say. But I know Ringo had help with the fire truck, and if it is needed, I feel like they maybe should get some support.
At the end of the day, I think we've got it secured to where we can handle it as an agency.
So you don't want any help? It's hard to argue with that.
Mr. Chairman, may I address the funding?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir.
I appreciate Mr. Sellers bringing that up. I think that is a very salient point for this conversation because, as Chairman Warren said prior, we do believe that this should be a county purchase. We would like to be involved in supplying these extraordinary resources for the benefit of all of our citizens. We're glad, trust me, we should all be glad that the citizens of the Blairs District want to make this $750,000 purchase. It is a big ask, and they are stepping to the plate to do that. I believe that Blairs, this is the right place to situate such an apparatus as this. And I think there was other conversation today that we need this apparatus, this type apparatus, at the proper location for every citizen in this county to enjoy the benefit. And that's why it is my recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that we find ways to fund these extraordinary apparatus going forward. It should not be up to stews and fundraising activities to fund brand new, this is a $1 million piece of equipment. And we need at least 3 of them in this county. I challenge you that we don't need 4. And that is the tail of the tape, the tail that's wagging the dog that we need to try to get a hold of. We have too much equipment in Pittsylvania County. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough training. You have an ad hoc committee being created to help figure out how to rotate and place this equipment. Our citizens, our taxpayers deserve the appropriate and efficient use of their funds. This is private money raised by a private corporation that is going to buy this truck privately. And I'm not going to certainly argue with their intent. I do question that if we've been looking for this truck for 2.5 years, why less than a year, 18 months ago, did we just take delivery of a $700,000 truck? Couldn't we have bought this apparatus 2 years ago and had one piece of apparatus doing what now 2 pieces of apparatus are going to do? That's the challenge for this commission going forward, is to make sure we're buying the right things and that we're not buying things on a whim. We're not going out and buying Rescue 1 because somebody drowned. Now we have to go buy a piece of equipment. The piece of equipment doesn't work. It was in a flood. It wasn't checked out. It's sitting in the sun. It's turning pink, and the county can't sell it. We have to do a better job with the allocation of our taxpayers' resources. I think, and I've been in this business 25 years, I'm not a fireman. I do understand ISO, and I would challenge you that $750,000 to drop 4 points on ISO rating, or gain 4 points, I can't remember. What's the ROI on that? I'm not sure. I don't know. Of course, the obvious argument is, how do you place an ROI on saving a life? I can't make that argument. But I do think we, as the County Board of Supervisors and as this commission, have to step back and come up with the appropriate replacement schedule. I hear that Blairs is anticipating us covering the insurance on that. I think we have policies in that regard. There's a maximum number of equipment that we will insure, and we'll have to take a look at that, but I certainly can't promise that at this time. It's going to take a while to get where we need to be, and we have apparatus in the county, one in Cool Branch, one in Chatham, and one in Ringgold, that are serving the function as ladder trucks in the county. I think as we go forward, we need to consider the placement of those assets. I live in the Cool Branch district. I would offer that it makes more sense in Gretna than it does Cool Branch. And the number of citizens in our county that would have access to that apparatus if it was placed in Gretna would be far superior to the number of citizens that have access to it at Cool Branch. Again, Blairs makes perfect sense to me. It is a very strategic location for deployment of these assets. I'm also well aware that a lot of our several of our assets in this regard do not have people trained to operate them, and that we've had incidents in the last month in this county where a ladder truck showed up on the scene and it was unable to be used appropriately. These are the things we've got to work on: training, appropriate allocation of resources, and continuing to encourage our volunteers to replace large pieces of apparatus systemically and not on whims. But again, the funding is the moral obligation of the county is there to support, and we will certainly be forwarding, if your recommendation is positive, encouraging our Board of Supervisors to adhere to that recommendation at its meeting in February, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you have.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that I do support 100%. I think Dean has done his due diligence, and I appreciate all of the work he's done, and I appreciate the Blair's community offering to step up to the plate with this purchase. It's very big of them to do that. We need some other departments that would step up and bring that much to the plate. It'd be a lot easier on the county. And with that said, I would like to see the county help with some of these purchases in the future, but I'd like to see it brought to them and give them time and due diligence to make it work. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Chief, I've just got two. Just two questions. Smile, it's okay. They're not hard ones. Do you see that we can use this going forward as a springboard? Because we've got the apparatus requirements that we just talked about. Can we add aerials to that and develop minimum standards for aerials as well going forward? And then I think as we go, as the county looks at the procurement of these, if the county wants to take on those big purchases, those specifications will be very handy to make sure that everything works together as we go forward. So I saw you nod yes.
Yes.
Okay. And your personal opinion of this truck, I know you read the letter and everything that you had written, your personal opinion of this truck that's in question, this piece of apparatus, what's your personal opinion? Okay. Yes, sir.
Going forward, I understand what Mr. Smitherman is saying with placement of apparatus. And I guess my question is, to my knowledge, this is the first time with any apparatus request it's been brought before the commission before making a purchase. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
It's not requesting CIP money, I guess?
With any purchase, yes. I mean, I understand the CIP has been, but,
Right.
but with buying a piece of apparatus, is this the first time?
Yeah, this is the first time we've had this type of situation, yes.
And I guess my question is, going forward, is this going to be the platform that we're going to operate from so that if down the road a department is fixing to purchase a brush truck, is it going to be the platform that they present it to the Fire and Rescue Association and it move forward to the commission to give guidance and whether or not this is a needed apparatus and going in the right spot or placement is right, I guess is what does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes. I think there's going to be some opinions that surround that. The county, even though the county's not buying any funding in this truck, they don't have any buying as far as physically funding the truck, you know, there would probably be some discussions surrounding the insurance. And I honestly, I guess that's a discussion that the commission needs to have and figure that out. And maybe even, Chris, I think that's a point of discussion going forward.
I think it's going to be, I think it's also going to be part of, with the strategic plan, which we'll start back on very shortly, because that's going to have some of that in there too. But yeah, I think so, because again, there is a cost to the county with the insurance and, you know, I mean, we have some departments have 6, 7 pieces of equipment, they might have 12 members. I mean, you know, you can't man what all you have either, and some of it's, you're getting, you know, especially if you're getting stuff it's aged, may have safety issues. I mean, I know Chief Fowler well enough to know he's going to do his homework. He's not going to have a safety issue on that truck. So, yeah, I think when we start looking at equipment and we've got studies that saying we have too much, and I think there's things we're going to need to take a hard look at as we move forward. But I think our strategic plan would be part of that too, as part of that process.
And I guess I was looking at point E on the agenda, CIP apparatus rotation, apparatus placement. I think if that's a discussion we're going to have at this level, I think, yeah, there's probably going to be some involvement of the commission, not necessarily that we're dictating. I wouldn't see it as a dictatorship. I would see it more as just some discussion to make sure that A, what we're buying is right at the time with the funding, even for the private agencies, because there may be agencies that want to buy trucks that physically can't afford it. They're going to put themselves in hock and they're going to go under for buying a truck that they may not need. The other thing is the apparatus placement to make sure that, as to Mr. Smitherman's point, and again, Blair's is a good fit for the latter, and you and I have had that conversation, I agree. You know, to make sure that those apparatus that get put there are not just sitting there and never being used because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I think it will be a point of discussion going forward that we'll have possibly as a part of the procedure of procurement. Yes, sir.
Can I ask that when this committee looks at apparatus rotation and the process of this apparatus, that it be some consideration given to the fire and rescue agencies and the chiefs in those agencies to have some input?
Yeah, I mean, I think the association working with the commission, just as you did with the standards for the apparatus, I think there's going to be some joint effort there, equally on both parts. So you've got buy-in on both parts, and then, you know, ultimately in is the board of supervisors for any type of approval as far as expenditures of county administration for the expenditures of insurance and such as that. So, yes, I don't have an issue with having buy-in from the association. Any further discussion?
Just,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fowler, housing. You got plenty of room to house a unit of this
Yes, sir.
size?
Yes,
And
sir.
then is it going to be service ready, or is there going to be additional money requirements to get it ready to put?
It's going to be some additional money to get it equipped and get equipment mounted and that stuff, but we have planned for that.
Okay.
And you mentioned, you did speak to in your presentation about the training of your folks that may not already be trained, that you do have some professional firefighters that run in your agency as volunteers.
I've got 11 now that are trained and experienced with it, and we've talked with a professional training company to come in and do a class to get other folks up to that speed.
Very good, thank you, sir. Any other discussion or questions for Chief Fowler or anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I still stand by my motion, but I just add to that if y'all would do a roll call vote. So when we take the vote on this, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. All right, any further discussion? We will take a roll call vote at this time. We have one abstention, and that's Commissioner Duffy. All right. All in favor, and we'll have a roll call, please. Just answer yes if you're in favor, no if you're not.
Chuck Angier,
Yes.
Tim Duffer,
Abstain.
Brian Fox,
Yes.
Brian Garrett is absent, Bobby Lovelace,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Ron Scares,
Yes.
Keith Scruggs,
Yes.
Bert Sellers,
Yes.
Yes, and Kermit King has
and
replaced.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you all.
Let me ask, Dean, what was the amount, and I'll write a letter going to the board that you all have. What was the amount?
430. 430.
Thank you.
All right, this time we will have matters from commissioners, and I will start to my far right with Mr. Sellers.
None.
Nothing, Mr. Sellers. Mr. Lovelace? Mr. Angier? I'll go to Mr. Meeks. Anything for the commission?
Yes, sir. I have a topic I'd like to discuss tonight. I was going to attempt to get on the agenda, and that was my fault. I was late in messaging Chris, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because I'm doing some more homework. But one thing I wanted to discuss, we were given med bags from the county public safety department, and that's where this conversation originated from, and I'll get to my point in a minute. But we were given med bags from the county, and they actually supplied the medications for those bags, until the CARES Act money ran out. Now that money's ran out, the cost of those medications are going to have to be absorbed by the volunteer organizations if they wish to keep them. And so they are convenient. They help out with exchanging quickly at the hospital and not having to wait, because I don't know how many transport to central facilities, but they're very, very strict on their drug boxes, so you have to have a charge nurse to even get a box down there. Sometimes if you're in a Gretna hospital with 10 beds and they have 15 patients in there, getting a charge nurse takes an hour or two after you've done your report. So it is a quick turnaround for us. And I've looked at a few different ways on how we could help offset these costs, and while doing that, I found also there is a lot of items that we're not able to exchange at the ER. I have been talking to my billing company. I bill through Mars A and B. I have my schedule here with those guys. There is a way that we can itemize bill with the ESO platform through these billing companies, but it's going to be extra headache for each person doing the report, and we've got to find the legal side and the logistics, because we're already charging a set fee for service level. So I thought, well, I stepped back and punted and said, well, what about we adjust our rates, or at least look at it? I know the county just adjusted the rates in 2019, and we are not the lowest in our region by any means, but we're definitely not the highest either for, what we're charging, and I'm not trying to say we should be the highest. But I pulled Franklin County, Bedford County, Botetourt, Floyd, Rockbridge, Henry, Pulaski, and Patrick. The only one I couldn't pull was Campbell. And like I said, out of those organizations, some of these lines where we fall, BLS, ALS, ALS2, and our mileage rate, we're towards the bottom on some of them. So I think maybe, and I don't know how this should be handled, I don't know if that's something for this commission, but I at least wanted to get that ball rolling of, let's start taking a hard look at this, because there's a lot of EMS agencies, mine included, and I'm sure Dean and Mike and all of them, that's had to eat a lot of cost this year. Mask is, these right here are $20 a box at some medical suppliers. I'm going to Sam's Club picking this stuff up now because my medical supplier can't get it to me in time, and the price, and the county did help us out with some of that supplies, and we've been grateful for that with the CARES Act, but that money's gone, so that's no longer going to benefit us. Just to give a few things also that is used on almost every call, test strips for your glucose, head blocks, arm splints, trauma dressings, AED pads. I mean, adult AED pads, $16 to $32, depending on which type you're having to use, which monitor you have. PED, $16.99. Mega Movers, $24.46. All this stuff that we're not able to recoup at the ER. And we are soft billing these our citizens that we're transporting. If they have insurance or Medicare and Medicaid, then we're able to recoup some of those costs. But we have to remember the county and all of these volunteer organizations now are having to pay people, whether it's through a stipend program or career staff, to cover the volume of EMS calls. So I know myself, I have 3 full-time employees, and I'm getting ready to add 3 more. So the majority of my income through my EMS does not benefit any of the operations. That's through fundraising and some other things that we have going on in Gretna. But the majority of my EMS income is just to pay my people so that we continue service in Gretna and supporting our county. So I think we need to take a good hard look at our rates and make sure we're being competitive. And I would definitely say that we need to entertain some adjustments, because we're a few years down the road now since the last time we updated these rates. And just so everybody knows, our BLS rate's $550, ALS1 is $750, ALS2 is $950, and our mileage is $16. Compare that to Bedford County. Bedford County is $557 BLS, $661 ALS1. They're $957 ALS2, but they have a $17.15 a mile. So we're actually pretty comparable with them. But if you go down here to, let's say, Pulaski County, they're $629 BLS rate, $706 for ALS1, $1,026 for ALS2, and $1,703 for their mileage. So I mean, their BLS, their ALS2, and their mileage is all over ours. So like I said, I don't know what plays into that. the demographics of how we get to these numbers, but I think it's definitely worth some discussion wherever it needs to be moved to. And also the medication prices, I think it's great to keep them, but we will not be keeping them at Gretna, the med bags, unless we can find a way to recoup those costs, because I already paid for a drug box to put on my truck, and I already have that agreement to trade one out, so we'll just be out of service longer waiting on a drug box, because these medication prices, you know, albuterol is $8.89 a box of 25. Atrovent is $58.50 for a box. And, you know, auto injectors, $400 for EpiPen, glucagon, $145. The list goes on and on. So, like I said, the med bags were a wonderful idea when they were given out, but without the CARES Act funding or the funding from the county, the volunteer agencies are probably going to have to drop them. So, but that's all I have on the topic, and Chris probably can interject on that.
Now would be the time to start that process, because if I'm not mistaken, we could adopt the new fee schedule with the budget amendment, could we not, in July? So now would be the time to absolutely jump on that, and I can get those numbers for Ben, and we can write some stuff up for a recommendation from the commission to take back to the board during the budget process. Be a perfect time. I will say, just one thing to keep in mind, and I don't know where this is going to go yet in Virginia, but, and Tim, and I'm sure Brian's heard about it, but, you know, Virginia's unique with the drug box exchange, and DEA doesn't like it. And they're forcing Virginia to slowly go to where we'll have to be our own pharmacy. So we'll have to be, you know, we're looking at that now, because I don't know if some smaller agencies will be able to do that, because it's going to take I've worked in a system that you had to do that, and it's manpower intensive, and it is very strict. It's a ton of documentation. So,
What do you have, a Pyxis machine? How do you become your own pharmacy?
where I was, we had a Pyxis machine and at various hospitals for certain things, but
Yeah.
we also basically ran a pharmacy in our logistics unit. And the medic on that truck, when they exchanged drugs each day, they were responsible for the count. I mean, you went through it, but it wasn't like it is now. Virginia, we're lucky in the way it is now, very lucky. But, you know, that train's coming down the track, and I keep hearing it's coming faster. And, you know, I've argued at the council level that that's going to really jeopardize the ALS, that license of smaller agencies.
Yep.
And it's sad, but I don't know what we can do about it. But we certainly, I agree with you, we need to look at the rates. We did that it was 2 years ago in July. So, yeah, we can put some stuff together and bring it back to the commission if y'all agree.
Because if there's a way that we can try to keep these med bags going as long as possible, the turnaround rates are so much faster. I get multiple calls. Right now, I'm averaging 6.2 calls a day at Gretna. 5 EMS calls a day, actually is what it is, 6.2 fire included. So a lot of times I'm sitting at the ER with a crew, and they're getting a second call, and we have a second truck, but sometimes we don't. So that crew at the ER, they can turn around, turn and burn, and go get that next patient and continue that service. But if I'm stuck on report with a drug box waiting on a charge nurse, and I mean, Gretna can only do so much. They only have so much personnel and resources in that hospital, and we surely appreciate them, but they can only do so much. I have sat for an hour and a half waiting on a drug box exchange. So the med bags are great, and we do a SEALs type system at our agency, just to touch on as far as the accountability of them. You know, they get checked every day with the drug box. As well, the number is recorded. We have seals we buy and we put on them, and our EMS captain should make sure that those seals are replaced as they get broken. But I definitely think the fee schedule should be looked at, so I appreciate y'all entertaining.
And I will tell you, keep watching what's going on in D.C. If there's another round of any of that funding, I'll certainly put in to try to continue that program, because we know the turnaround time is huge for us. Plus, it's keeping you out of the hospital where they don't want you in there now anyway because of COVID. Yep. So, you know, it's and we don't have a lot of staff or people during the day to sit there at that hospital for an hour and a half to exchange, you know, something because you gave nitroglycerin or something like that. So we're going to do our best to try to push that. If we get more money to fund that longer, if I can do it, I'll certainly be doing that, because we know it's worthwhile to do. So, thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Duffy.
I would just want to say I would kind of follow up on that. I would recommend looking at the fee schedule first over any kind of itemized. I know billing companies may say that, but just my experience in prior EMS agencies that I've been, that is very, very difficult. If you start itemizing the people, the staff you need to run calls, you're gonna have to pull staff just to take care of the bills. That's a job in itself, because you can't itemize just one thing. When you start itemizing, you gotta itemize everything. That includes your 4x4s. That includes your sheets. That includes everything, not just your drugs.
Yeah.
You gotta pick one. I either itemize or I don't itemize. So the fee schedule is definitely the way I would go. On the fee schedule too, I think I think that needs to be looked at. Medicare used to increase their fee schedule every year based on the country's GDP. That can be good or bad, because sometimes the GDP is negative. And Medicare one time did actually drop the fee schedule that I know of. So as a commission, we could probably look at, we should probably look at it each year. Now, whether the Board of Supervisors can look at it, we can look at, it is our recommendation. If we see that the GDP went up 0.5%, maybe we raise our rate 0.5%. That's the way Medicare bases their fee schedule on. And I think some other things that in a committee, when we talk about it, or we talk about it as a group, maybe we need to look at how we bill as well.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be looked at. And then the only other thing I got is, I encourage the volunteers or anybody that hasn't got their vaccination, look at that. I'm not a person to sit here and force that on anybody. Do your research, do your homework. Don't let Facebook dictate whether you get a shot or not. I guarantee you, most of you, in your lifetime, you probably put something worse in your body than that shot. So just do your research, that's all I want to say. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but do your research. So.
And just to support what Tim said real quick, I totally support the fee schedule, looking at that first, because Mars A and B cracked it up to be, oh yeah, this is the way you need to go with the itemizing and stuff, and then we started looking at it, and the just time intensive it would take, because like he said, everything has to be itemized billed at that point. It was like, well, we're not doing that, we're going to punt away from that. So that's kind of why I redirected on what I brought tonight. So.
There you go. Mr. King, have anything tonight, sir?
No, not at this time. I'm just at a learning experience.
Vice Chair. Nothing. I just have one thing I'd like to say. January 12th was a rough day for the damn life-saving crew. On January 12th, we lost a friend, a mentor, one of the best educators that ever been out there, and I lost a heck of a boss. But what I saw from this county was y'all came in and y'all backed us up. I don't care how big or bad you think you are, you're going to need backup one day. And so for the agencies that came in and supported us, thank you. For the ones that came to the service, thank you. For the ones that called, thank you. I appreciate it personally. From me to each one of y'all, thank you. That's all I've got. This time, closed session.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go down to Mr.
I went this way, then
Oh,
this
did
way.
you get Mr. Scarce?
Mr. Scarce. Best for last.
Well, considering we're live tonight, Mr. Chairman, and my comments tend to get the britches of the Danville Register and Bee editorial board in a bunch, I think I'll refrain from saying anything controversial tonight and give those guys a break. Thank you anyway.
I just want to tell y'all one thing. We've been at this just a little over a year, and I just want y'all to know, we're still learning our way. We're getting better every time we do this, but the commitment I've seen from you folks has been tremendous. And I'm learning the more I work with y'all that you do take this very, very seriously, and that I appreciate. You put a lot of time and effort into what you think and some of the stuff we do, and I really do appreciate that a lot, and it means a lot to me personally. So thank y'all for what you've been doing this year. Owe you big. Thank you.
All right, at this time, the next item on the agenda is closed session.
Clayton, do you need to read them into closed session? Yeah, we just need a motion to go into closed
I'll make
session.
that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, have a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to read the motion?
Clayton, do they need to read the motion for closed session?
I'll read it.
We good? We made a motion to go into closed session?
We're going to go closed session to a separate room because we're live streaming this. So, in the future, we're going to have a separate, to go shortcut, we're going to go over here, take a left, and go into closed session.
Okay.
Be it resolved that at the meeting of the Pittsylvania County Fire and Rescue Commission on January 26, 2021, the commission hereby certifies by a recorded vote that to the best of each commission member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. If any board member believes there was a departure from the requirements of the act, he shall so state prior the vote indicating the substance of the departure. The statement shall be recorded in the commission minutes. We'll now take the vote. Chuck Angier.
Yes.
Tim Duffer.
Yes.
Brian Fox.
Yes.
Kermit King.
Yes.
Bobby Lovelace.
Yes.
Ben Meeks.
Yes.
Ron Scares.
Yes.
Keith Scruggs.
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Thank you. At this time, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Motion and a second. Thank you all.